Welcome to the Focus Podcast with Taralee. This is the place where we talk about real life, real relationships, and how to grow through it all. If you're looking for simple mindset shifts, better communication, and deeper connections, you're in the right spot. Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome back to the Focus Podcast. I'm Taralee Eddington, marriage crisis coach, and I'm really glad you're here today. Before we dive in, I want to give you a little heads up. Today's episode is going to be a little bit heavier than usual. We're going to talk about things like the real cost of divorce, what happens when couples slowly turn away from each other, and why so few marriages actually feel happy and connected. Now, we're talking about this today not because I want to scare you or make you feel worse, but because I really want to be honest about what's at stake and what's possible for you. Sometimes listening to a podcast is exactly what you need. It gives you insight and language for what you're feeling, and maybe even a little bit of hope. And if that's you today, beautiful. Take what lands, let it simmer, maybe talk about it with your spouse. But for some of you, as you're listening, you might feel this little nudge inside that says, this is us. We can't keep doing it like this. We can't keep going like this. We need more than a podcast episode. And so if that's you, I want you to know that you don't have to do this alone. I offer a free call where we sit down together, just you and me on a Zoom call, and we look at what's really going on in your marriage, why you're stuck in the same painful patterns, and what it would look like to have a clear, guided plan to turn toward one another again instead of away. There's no pressure, no judgment, and no shaming on this call. It's simply a safe place to get clarity and see if working with me would be a good next step for you. You can book that call by using the link in the show notes or by visiting thefocuspodcastwithtaralee.com. And if while you're listening today, someone pops into your mind, a friend, a sibling, a coworker, someone whose marriage you know is really struggling, I invite you to share this episode with them. Just think of it like this. Hey, I heard this and I thought it might help. No pressure. Sometimes that tiny act can be the thing that helps someone feel less alone and maybe even gets them the support that they need. All right, take a breath, get comfy, or keep doing whatever you're doing, and let's talk about what happens when we don't turn towards each other and how you can choose something different. So I came across an article that talked about the current averages in the United States for the cost of divorce, and I was kind of shocked. I was blown away a little bit by this. I saw this in U.S. News and Forbes. The average cost of a contested divorce right now is $15,000 to $30,000 per person. If custody is involved, that can exceed $40,000 to $60,000. Mediator fees can range anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000. And retainers for lawyers, just to get started, are usually between $3,000 and $5,000. And then you have court filing fees, anywhere from $200 to $400. And financial analysts and things like that, $1,500 to $7,500. That's mind-blowing to me. The financial cost is astronomical, but what about the emotional cost? In my research and studies over the last 12 years on family dynamics, I've learned so much about some really important things. When a couple divorces, we see that children begin developing anxiety and start having problems in schools and regression, adults experiencing depression, identity loss, financial instability, in-laws, extended families, holidays forever changed, the cost of 2 households, 2 sets of bills, 2 schedules. The impact on everyone is heartbreaking. Research shows that the average cost to emotionally recover from divorce is 2 to 5 years. And research also shows that women lose 41% of their wealth instantly on average. And for men, their standard of living drops 25%. And 60% of couples report ongoing conflict even after divorce. And 60% of second marriages also end in divorce. So after learning about some of this research and these studies, it tells me that divorce doesn't always end the pain, it just redistributes it. Okay, now I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about the truth about the marriage happiness statistics, okay? I remember hearing this 27 years ago when I was getting married, that 50% of marriages end in divorce. And that was terrifying to me when, as someone that was contemplating getting married and worried about this whole statistic and how are we going to be able to survive if 50% of people that get married are getting divorced. But here's another mind-blowing statistic here. Of the 50% who stay together, 43% say they are unhappy, disconnected, or struggling. So that leaves only 7% report feeling happy, healthy, and satisfied. So the goal shouldn't be just avoiding divorce. It's becoming part of that 7%. And how do we do that? So my husband and I have been married for a long time, 27 years, and we've had seasons where we were nowhere near that 7%. There were times that we were just surviving and passing each other in the hallway and doing life side by side, not really together. Think about the times when our kids were little, we had multiple jobs, we were barely scraping by financially, and all the stressors just kept us in that survival mode. What changed everything for us wasn't pretending that things were fine. It was learning how to turn towards each other once again on purpose. That's the work that I now do with couples. It's taking the very real pain that you're in and walking you through a process that rebuilds emotional safety and communication and connection again. I use my focus framework to help you look at the facts, own your thoughts, choose your feelings, understand your actions, and shape your results. And I also weave in teachings of the starved needs so we can see exactly where safety, trust, appreciation, respect, validation, encouragement, or dedication have broken down. So when I talk about the 7%, I'm not talking about the couples who never fight. I'm talking about couples who learned how to turn towards each other instead of away, even when it was hard or even when it felt awkward, even when it could have been much easier to shut down. And if you're listening to this thinking, we're definitely not in that 7% right now, I want you to hear me. That doesn't mean you can't get there. It means you just haven't been shown how to get there yet. So let's talk about this turning towards turning away and what it actually means. Dr. John Gottman talks about bids for attention. These are those little moments when your partner reaches out for attention or for affection, reassurance, or help, or just to share something with you. Turning toward means you notice the bid and you respond in a way that says that I see you and I hear you and I care. Turning away is when you ignore it or brush it off or stay in your own little world. And then there's turning against, which is when you respond with irritation or criticism or contempt. He found that in stable, happy marriages, partners turn toward one another 86% of the time. But in distressed marriages, they turn toward each other only about 33% of the time. So let me give you an example here. Say you're in the kitchen and your spouse comes in and says, "Hey, come and look at the sunset with me." That's a bid. Turning toward might sound like, "Wow, that is beautiful. Thank you for calling me over." Or you walking over to the window and putting your arm around them and looking out together. Turning away is you keep scrolling on your phone or say nothing or continue with what you're doing without even looking up. And then turning against sounds like, "Why are you interrupting me with random stuff? Can't you see that I'm doing something?" It's not about the sunset. It's about, am I important enough to pull your attention away for even just a moment? Now, let me give you another example. Your spouse walks in the door after a long day at work and they say, "Today was awful. My boss gave me extra work and I hit terrible traffic on the way home." The bid is asking, "Will you be my safe space right now?" And turning toward looks something like, "Ugh, that sounds really stressful. Want to tell me about it?" Or you pause whatever you're doing and turn your body towards them, make eye contact, maybe even touch their arm. Turning away is just saying, hey, dinner's on the table, can you grab the drinks? Totally skipping their emotional world. And turning against sounds like, you think your day was bad? You should hear about mine. Or, well, maybe if you were more organized, you wouldn't be so overwhelmed. Again, it's not about how big the problem is. It's about whether you open the door or shut it when your partner is knocking emotionally. According to Dr. John Gottman, turning toward your partner means responding to their little bits of connection with interest and with warmth and support instead of ignoring them or snapping at them. It looks like putting your phone down when they say, hey, listen to this. Or it looks like asking, tell me more when they sigh or say, today was rough. It's these tiny everyday moments where you say, you matter to me, not in big speeches, but in how you turn your body, your eyes, and your attention towards them. If you don't turn toward, you slide toward divorce. I heard a saying recently that said, quiet divorces begin long before the lawyers. People don't just wake up one day and file. They slowly turn away until the distance feels too big to cross. A friend of mine who was divorced years ago shared this with me recently. He said that he knew things had been rocky in his marriage, but he didn't realize how bad it really was. His wife had stopped trying to talk about their issues, and he took that as a sign that things had finally settled down. He thought things were fine until one day she told him, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. He said that felt like getting kicked in the gut. Now, men, listen up. When a woman stops fighting, that's not usually a sign that everything is okay. It's often a sign that she's done. And once she's emotionally checked out, it can be very hard to get her back. These are the kinds of quiet, turning away moments that add up over time. The silent treatment, avoiding real conversations, sleeping separately, saying whatever, you do what you want, stacking resentments instead of resolving them, or hiding your heart, pretending you don't care. This is where I want you to pause and really ask yourself, where am I turning away instead of turning toward? Okay, now I want to share with you a hopeful reality. You can turn toward at any stage. Most couples don't need a divorce. They need a reset. They need tools. They need emotional safety, and they need someone to guide the process. I really want you to hear this. If you're in a place where you're Googling divorce, looking up apartments, or mentally rehearsing what you'd say if you left, that does not automatically mean your marriage is over. It usually means this: no one ever taught you how to do this. You weren't given a manual for how to repair after a fight, or how to calm your nervous system when you're triggered, or how to express hurt without attacking, or how to hear your partner's pain without going straight into defense or shame. So of course it feels impossible. Of course your brain says, maybe we're just not compatible, or maybe it's a sign that we should be done. But here's the hopeful reality. Even couples who really haven't spoken in weeks can begin again. Even couples who feel like roommates can rebuild emotional intimacy. Even couples who have said really painful things can repair and reconnect. Connection is teachable. It's a skill set, not a personality trait. Safety is rebuildable. When we slow everything down and start creating small, consistent moments of honesty, empathy, and follow-through, your body can actually relearn, I'm safe with this person. Trust can be restored. Not by pretending the past didn't happen, but by creating a new pattern in the present, one where words and actions finally match. I've seen couples at every stage, the ones who say, we're on the brink, one more blow up and I'm done. Or the ones who say, we haven't felt close in years, but we don't want to give up. Or the ones who whisper, if something doesn't change soon, I'm afraid I'll make a choice I can't undo. And here's what I know from working with them. When even one person in the relationship learns how to turn toward instead of away, how to show up differently in conflict, how to communicate with clarity instead of chaos, the entire dynamic can start to shift. You are not too far gone. Your marriage is not the one exception that can't be helped. You might just be one set of tools or one guided process, one intentional reset away from a completely different story. And that's why I'm so passionate about this work, because I know what's possible when a couple decides that before they walk away, they're going to try turning toward one another one more time, but this time with support. So if you're listening to this thinking, okay, maybe we're not actually doomed, but we have no idea how to fix this, I want you to know that's exactly where I come in. You don't have to Google 47 articles or read 5 marriage books and try to duct tape a plan together all by yourselves. This is the work that I do every day with couples in crisis, and I want to give you a picture of what that actually looks like to have support, to have someone walk with you step by step from where you are now toward that 7%. I'm not a therapist who's going to ask you how you feel for 50 minutes or watch you argue and then send you home to figure it out yourselves. I'm a marriage crisis coach. My job is to help you understand what's really going on underneath the fights, stop the bleeding, and then rebuild connection, safety, and trust you both are starving for. I've been married for 27 years and I've walked through my own hard seasons. And on top of that, I've spent years studying human behavior, nervous system responses, and relationship dynamics so that I can give you a clear, practical path forward, not just theory. So here's what I blend together in my work with couples. My focus framework. This is where we look at the facts first, help you own your thoughts, choose your feelings, understand your actions, and shape your results. It means we're not just reacting, we're actually rewiring patterns. And then I introduce you to the starved needs and emotional safety work, where we look at safety, trust, appreciation, respect, validation, encouragement, and dedication, and where it has broken down in your relationship, and we build them back in a structured way. And then I give you nervous system tools because it's impossible to communicate well when we're in fight, flight, or freeze. I teach you how to calm your body so that you can actually stay present in hard conversations. I teach you communication rewiring, not just use I statements, but very specific ways to speak and listen so that you don't keep triggering the same explosion. And I teach you conflict repair, how to come back after a blow up, and what to say, how to repair instead of just sweeping it under the rug. I give you personalized marriage crisis intervention. I don't put you through a generic curriculum. We look at your situation, your history, your goals, and we design a plan around that. I teach a no-blame model. I'm not here to decide who's the problem. I'm here to help you both see the pattern and learn how to step out of that. I'm not here to watch you argue, and I have no interest in being a referee. I'm interested in giving you tools so that you don't need a referee. And there's no shaming, just clarity. You're not broken. You're not failures. You're humans who were never taught how to do this. I teach you a forward-focused strategy and root cause repair. This is where we deal with the real roots of what's going on, and at the same time we're asking, okay, what's the next step towards connection? When we work together, we're not just talking about your marriage. You're learning and practicing very specific skills that change how your marriage feels day to day. You're learning how to regulate your emotions in conflict so that you're not yelling, shutting down, or saying things that you regret. You're learning how to close the gap and turn towards again, even if you've been distant or icy or walking on eggshells for a long time. You learn how to rebuild safety and trust, not with empty promises, but with consistent actions that your partner's nervous system can relax into. You also learn how to communicate without constantly triggering each other. You'll learn what to say and how to say it so that your partner can actually hear you. You'll learn how to end the cycle of shutting down, escaping, or attacking. We identify your pattern and give you a new one. You learn how to reconnect physically and emotionally so that you're not just roommates or co-parents, but partners again. You learn how to meet each other's needs without losing yourself. This isn't about one person doing all the changing. It's about becoming a team. And you learn how to feel like a team again, facing problems side by side instead of feeling like you're on opposite sides in the battlefield. This is how couples move from crisis to connection, to becoming part of that 7% who are actually happy and satisfied in their marriage, not just staying together on paper. Okay, as we wrap up, I want to bring this all together for you. We talked about the real cost of divorce, not just the attorney fees, mediators, starting life over with 2 separate homes, but the emotional cost on you, on your spouse, your kids, extended family, even your sense of who you are. We looked at the marriage statistics, that about half of marriages end in divorce, and of the half that stay together, a large percentage are unhappy or struggling, and only a small group, about 7%, describe their marriage as happy, healthy, and satisfying. And I told you the goal isn't just about avoiding divorce, it's becoming part of that 7%. We talked about what it means to turn toward instead of turning away. Those little daily moments when your partner makes a bid for connection and you choose to respond with warmth and attention and care instead of ignoring or shutting down and attacking. Those tiny choices are what build or erode a marriage over time. We also talked about the reality of quiet divorces, how couples slowly turn away from one another. They stop trying, stop talking, sleep separately, stack resentments, and one day a person says, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore." And I especially called out the men here. When she stops fighting, that's often a sign that she's emotionally done, not that everything's fine. But I didn't want to leave you there. We spent time on the hopeful reality that most couples don't actually need divorce, they need a reset. They need tools, they need emotional safety, and they need someone to guide the process. Connection is teachable, safety is rebuildable, and trust can be restored. And I shared how couples can do exactly that, using my focus framework, the starved needs work, nervous system tools, conflict repair, communication rewiring, and a no-blame, focused forward approach. This is how couples move from crisis to connection, to becoming part of that 7%. Okay, so if you're listening to this and you feel that lump in your throat, and if you're thinking, this is us, that's where we are right now, I want you to know something really important. You're not crazy, you're not broken, and your marriage is not automatically over just because you're struggling. And before you take another step towards separation or divorce, I want to invite you to take one step toward help. You can book a free consult call with me. It's a safe space where we'll look at what's really going on, why you keep getting stuck in the same patterns, and what it would look like to have a clear, personalized plan to turn toward each other again. There's no pressure on this call. It's simply a chance for you to stop trying to figure this out alone and see if working together would be a good fit. If that's tugging at you, and if you're thinking we owe it to ourselves and to our family to try one more time with support, follow that nudge. You can find the link to schedule that call with me in the show notes or by visiting thefocuspodcastwithtaralee.com. Taralee is spelled T-A-R-A-L-E-E. Thefocuspodcastwithtaralee.com. And if this episode spoke to you, please share it with your spouse or with someone you know who's struggling in their marriage. Sometimes listening to this together can be the first small turn toward you make. Thank you for spending this time with me here today. I know this is tender, heavy stuff, and I don't take it lightly that you're here. I'm cheering for you. I believe in your capacity to grow, and I believe your marriage can become something much better than just not divorced. All right, that's it for today. Remember, what you focus on expands, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for hanging out with me today on the Focus Podcast. If something stood out or helped you in some way, feel free to share it or leave a quick review. It means a lot. Keep showing up, keep growing, and I'll catch you in the next episode.